Aspen Education Group is the largest and most comprehensive network of therapeutic schools and programs that promote both academic and personal growth to struggling youth and their families. Aspen's network of programs are uniquely positioned at the intersection of therapy and education and allow professionals and families to choose a setting that's designed to meet a student's unique academic and emotional needs. Aspen's residential programs participated in a remarkable research study over the last several years, and we'd like to share those findings with you. This study was first presented at the annual conference of the American Psychological Association, with a follow-up presentation at the Independent Educational Consultant Association conference in 2007. Dr. Ellen Behrens, the principal researcher for this study, will provide an overview of the study and its findings.
In 2003, Canyon Research and Consulting launched the first multi-center longitudinal study of treatment outcomes in private residential care at 10 Aspen Education Group residential programs. We asked two basic but important questions in the study. First, we asked, do youth get better during residential treatment? And second, we asked, if so, does it last? In other words, we examined changes made during treatment and whether these changes were maintained after discharge. Since this was the first study of its kind, we wanted to cast a broad net and study as many variables as could inform our practice and our research. So we studied dozens of factors related to youth outcomes like gender, age, presenting problems, and discharge status. There were a number of things we did from the outset to ensure that this study would be a quality study. We began by organizing a team of PhDs and clinical researchers who had worked in both mental health and research arenas to conduct the research. Before we began collecting data, we solicited the involvement of the Western Institutional Review Board, an internationally recognized organization, to approve the study design and provide ongoing ethical oversight and consultation. And after we completed data collection, we ran advanced statistical analyses, such as linear modeling, to decrease the chance of spurious findings. For this study, we surveyed more than 1,000 parents and 1,000 youth at enrollment to the program, discharge from the program, and then 3, 6, and 12 months after discharge from the program in order to track youth changes over time. Our standardized outcome measures were the ACEBA measures, more commonly known as the Achenbach or the CBCL, and they're considered gold standard measures of youth outcomes, ones that have excellent national norms and excellent reliability and validity. It's important to know that this was not a satisfaction study. We didn't ask parents and students how they felt about their treatment in the residential programs. Instead, we asked them to complete tests that measured youth behavior, and then we tracked changes in those test results over time. We learned that when youth begin Aspen residential programs, they have a level and severity of problems that would cause most mental health professionals to give them a poor prognosis. And here's why. Although 94% of the youth had received at least one form of treatment before enrolling at an Aspen program, their behavior was at the 98th percentile, which means that even though teens had tried treatment before coming to an Aspen program, they were still functioning worse than 98% of peers their age. In addition, 84% of the youth had multiple problems, most notably disorders of substance abuse, behavior, mood, learning, and anxiety. Research shows that people with dual diagnosis or co-occurring conditions tend to have poor treatment outcomes. Some even describe those conditions as treatment resistant. Last, the youth were also experiencing problems in most domains of their lives: academic, familial, psychological, and social. Simply put, at enrollment, the youth were at high risk for impairment and treatment failure. Our findings, based on the data from youth and parents, indicated that at enrollment, youth were indeed at the extreme range in functioning on the ACEBA tests and impaired in their family functioning. During treatment, youth psychological, social, and family problems improved dramatically, moving from the extreme ranges to the normal ranges on all scales. The year after discharge, youth psychological and social functioning remained well within the normal range, was far better than functioning had been at admission, and was relatively stable. Now, these gains were measured on all outcome variables, including anxious depression, withdrawn depression, social problems, attention problems, thought problems, rule breaking, and aggression. The trajectory or the path of change was the same for males and females, for those between 13 and 17 years of age, regardless of the number of problems they had, or regardless of whether they were treated for mood, substance, or behavioral problems. These findings are remarkable. Based on research conducted in broader mental health services, we'd expect to see spotty changes, changes that occur in one area but not another area of psychological or social functioning. But that was not the case in this study. Youth improved across all outcome measures or outcome factors under this investigation in the study. We'd also expect to see that changes depended upon background factors or demographic variables. And again, that was not the case in the study. It seemed that youth benefited regardless of those background or demographic factors. And last, what I think makes the results so remarkable is the extreme amount of change that students had during treatment and that they maintained those gains after discharge, especially given that this was a population that was so at risk at admission and for whom many mental health professionals would have offered a poor prognosis for treatment. I appreciate Aspen Education Group's participation in this outcome study. As a researcher, it's uncommon to find organizations willing to open their programs up to third-party study. Aspen Education Group programs gave us full access to youth and parents and provided us complete independence in the execution of the study. 4 years ago, when few programs were openly discussing outcomes, Aspen Education Group programs willingly participated in this study. They took a risk by being the first in the industry to do so, and I believe the risk was well worth it, because the study showed that youth who are enrolled in Aspen Education Group programs have lasting and positive results.
Hi, I'm General Barry McCaffrey. One of the biggest privileges of my life was serving as the nation's drug policy director, the so-called drug czar. And I've long emphasized, based on that experience, the need for quality organizations to participate in outcome research to demonstrate the effectiveness of treatment. The Aspen Education Group has led youth treatment programs and is doing research on those programs since the 1980s. I categorically support what they're doing, their residential programs, both with their success with teens and with their families.
A copy of this comprehensive study, as well as the charts and summary findings, are available on our website, aspeneducation.com, or from any of our residential programs. We invite you to learn more about the positive and lasting results of our Aspen programs. Together, we can provide help for today and hope for tomorrow.